Belly Band creator Carol Brunswick spent over $300,000 of her family's savings with little or no return before landing on a more effective way to grow her business. The new improved way involved bootstrapping everything and adopting a people-first, profit-second philosophy. Guess what? Worked an absolute treat. Now she sold 70,000 belly bands and absolutely loves building a business that's making such a difference to her precious customers' lives. Although it does raise the question, what on earth is a belly band? It's a curious yet warm and fuzzy episode 595 of the 13-year-old, award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Tim Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of supportive marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing that helps businesses just like yours, yours, to grow. How do I do that? By having in-depth conversations with successful business founders from around this crazy world. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that, my friend, is exactly why this show exists. So well done to you for finding it, for tuning in, and hopefully for taking action as a result of what you hear. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Hey, a bit of an update. First of all, soz for the silence. I've been off the air for a few weeks, as you may have known. Maybe you didn't. But thank you to those who reached out and sort of inquired about how I was going and when the next episode was coming out. If the truth be known, been dealing with some personal issues. Welcome to being human. The old anxiety got the better of me. If you're a long-time listener of this podcast, you will know that I do suffer from anxiety, as do most humans, I guess, and sometimes it just gets the better of me, and it is a bitch. That is saying it lightly. But anyway, we move on. Fortunately, I've been surrounded by some very loving family and friends who've supported me through this. It wasn't like terrible, but sometimes you just got to take the foot off the brake and, reassess things. So thank you to those who supported me through it. You know who you are, and I love you dearly. Anyone else listening to this, if you are out there and you are doing it tough, anxiety, depression, some kind of mental health issue, please seek help. Talk. Hey? It's not easy to talk. I get it. It's not easy to talk down this microphone knowing that there's more than one person hearing about my woes. But hey, if we don't talk about it, then others aren't going to talk about it, and it remains just this kind of weird thing, and it shouldn't be. It's part of the human condition. Anyway, please seek help if that's you. You might have picked up at the top of the show, I said it's the 13-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast. That's because last week, actually on June 4, this podcast turned 13 years old. No song and dance was made, no cakes, no presents, but I'm very proud of that achievement, and I couldn't have done it without you, the listeners, my very, very precious listeners. So thank you to those who have been with me for the journey. I know there's a lot of you out there, and I'm absolutely honoured. Another thing you might have heard is that I have a new sponsor in Dell. In fact, a new 12-month sponsor in Dell Technologies, and I am so grateful. Thank you, Dell, for coming on board. Monetizing a podcast is not easy. So I can't tell you how grateful I am, and hopefully you are, that Dell has come on board, because it means I can focus on creating great content to help grow that beautiful business of yours. And in the case of Dell, I can bring your attention to new technologies, software, hardware, cybersecurity stuff, cloud-based computing, all that stuff, networking, all that really important stuff for your business that will make your business life easier than ever. So, hugely grateful to Dell for signing on for 12 months. You might have also not heard the listener audio mark at the top of the show, and that's because my 2-year contract with the Listener Podcast Network came to an end, and we mutually agreed that renewing wasn't the best policy. From their end, there was a fair bit of over-promising and under-delivering on the revenue front. There's a lot of upside to being with Listener, resource-wise, but they just weren't delivering on the revenue front. And podcasting is my end. It is not a means to an end. It's how I make a living. And from my end, there was a lot of whinging about lack of revenue. So it wasn't exactly a perfect match. We also had different values regarding, what I should and shouldn't say on air. And I don't know, sometimes when you come together with a strategic partner in your business, the values don't match, and better figuring that out at the start than at the end like I did. But anyway, we move on, and I'm no longer part of the Listener Network. I am out there again as a bespoke podcaster, and I love it. 13 years on. Enough from me. Let's get on with the show for you. Carol Brunswick is the creator of the original Belly Band. She's already sold 70,000 of them and given away 5,000. She'll turn over $2 million this year thanks to her 8 staff, wholesalers and customers all over the world that she treats with the utmost of respect. And boy, oh boy, there is a learning right there. You're going to love what Carol has to say. My big learning in this episode, though, is that Carol has built the Belly Bands business with an unwavering people-first, profit-second attitude, despite losing the majority of her family's savings, some $300,000 plus before things turned around. And she turned them around really, really cleverly. So, what's a belly band, I hear you ask? Excellent question. I'll leave that to Carol.
Well, a belly band is a compression garment that's used obviously around the tummy. We manufacture it so it can be used for women in pregnancy, postpartum, after C-section, and it's also used by other women and men who have had abdominal surgery or hernia support.
It would be remiss of me not to ask, is there a version for middle-aged men with a bit of a spread?
Oh, look, yeah, we get a lot of that.
And what have you done about it?
Well, we're always inventing new things, so that might be the next one to come up. So
it's quite interesting when you think about that. I mean, I always think there's an aha in a ha-ha, and I'm sure you've been asked that joke. You've been, heard that joke before, but in a society that is so driven by appearance, that whole injectables industry's gone bananas. We now accept Botox as kind of the norm. I think we do. Maybe, and male grooming, I know for a fact, is a category on the rise. Maybe there is an opportunity for you to create some kind of product like that, or would it be sort of against your values?
That's the thing there, and that's probably what stands us out against anybody else in the industry, especially in the maternity industry, is they've really focused on that postpartum, get your body back after birth. And that's the complete opposite of what we believe in. We're about the health and the safety of the mothers.
Your brand is very, very much clinical, for want of a better word. It's not cosmetic. It's on the serious end of the spectrum.
Yeah. And saying that, there is the benefits of binding. It does give you after pregnancy, binding does help. It doesn't actually help reduce you to get back to your previous shape. It just helps to reduce the uterus quicker, which then gives you that slimmer looking.
What was happening in your life 12 years ago to start Belly Bands?
Well, probably not the happiest of story. My husband had died suddenly, and I found myself needing to be a stay-at-home mum. I still had a 5-year-old at the time, and I needed to work from home. My background is in computer networking engineer, so
I love
different.
it. I love a good contrast.
Yeah, so I sort of was looking for an opportunity of what I can do to be at home because the youngest wasn't coping very well with the tragedy that had happened. And, you know, as things turned out, I ended up meeting a lady who owned a company in America. And she said, oh, you know, I have these products for pregnancy. You should take them back to Australia. Lots of women ask me, but postage and everything isn't, you know, it isn't possible for me to send them. And I'm like, oh, it's just a year out of where I was. And so I took a few back and I gave them to some friends and they really liked them. And so that was in the November. On Boxing Day, I whipped up a little website, took some photos, put them on there, and I thought, let's just see how this goes.
Hang on, let's just pause there. There's a lot in there. Remember where we are because this is a fascinating story. But you had a social encounter with a lady in America who happened to, just literally in passing, you weren't even prodding for ideas or talking to her about starting a business.
No,
in passing, she's just gone, I've got these products and you're in Australia and, you know, I do get interest from Australia, but postage is such a pain. You know, would you consider licensing or being a distributor? So then you whip up. I love how you say whip up a website. I've just whipped up a website for my girlfriend, Sarah, and despite being in the biz, it ain't easy. I was talking to our mutual friend, Greg Merrilees, who introduced you and I. He did your website and he did my website from Studio One Design. And, you know, that whole process is not easy. Now, you were you were in that sort of IT space.
Yeah.
When you say you whipped up a website, what do you mean?
I basically, you know, just went in. I understood, you know, remember 12 years ago was very different to how it was now. So
there was no Quicks or sort of, you know, whatever those other fancy ones are that you can sort of plug and play now.
No. So I started off just with WordPress and just quickly learned it and, you know, put it together very quickly. There was only basically one product, so it was pretty easy. So yeah, that sort of started evolving, and then people were contacting me, and I was like, oh, there might be something in this. So at that stage, I didn't really understand the need for the product. I just really was focusing on how do I keep a roof over our head, you know. So
when you say you didn't understand the need, like you didn't fully understand just what a wonderful just what a big problem a belly band solved for women in need.
Yeah, that's right.
But you just saw it as a business opportunity.
Yeah, seen it as a business opportunity. And over time, I started talking to customers, talking to midwives. I started to see that why, you know, this product was needed. And I decided to, I guess I became really passionate about it. I was like, oh my goodness, why do people not know about this? And the more research I did, I realized in other countries for a long, you know, centuries, they've been binding during pregnancy and after pregnancy. But here in the Western world, we had stopped that. And it was really interesting because I'd put a post up on the Australian Made Facebook page, and people who were probably 60 and over were like, oh my goodness, I remember we used to have these all the time. And I was like, oh, so it's actually only probably been in the last 20 years or so that we've stopped using them.
Carol, when you go out, it always fascinates me, you know, you go out to friends and family with an idea or people you think could potentially use the product and seek their opinion. It's a scary time because at what point do you stop listening to the little man or woman on your shoulder who's saying, oh, don't listen to them, they wouldn't know. This is just going to be a money pit. It's not going to work. Well, that's me. I mean, maybe I'm glass half empty kind of guy. I don't think I am, but, you know, that does happen. So at what point for you, was it very quickly that you gone, oh, hey, there's a business here. This is easy. I'm leaving full-time job. I'm going to work from home. Because, again, the stakes are fairly high for you. Single mother, children, you know, wanting to work from home, probably got a good paying job with the computer networking stuff. So at what point did you go, these people are right, I'm going to jump?
Well, I think it was the customers. I guess it was the customers putting one on and going, oh my goodness, you know. And I was like, so I think it came from a need to help others. But the friends and family saying it would be a money pit, it was. And I lost a lot of money on that first adventure.
Tell us about that.
Well, with the company that I was working with, I was their distributor here in Australia. So I, would buy the products. I would do all the marketing. I would do everything that I can to bring awareness and that. But I only had this one product. And while the product was, the purpose behind it was really good, the actual product wasn't suitable for long-term use.
Just a poor quality manufacture?
Just the fabric they had used a stretchy cotton. Compression garments need to be an elastic. It can't be a cotton, because then after a very short time, it just loses the function of support. So that was probably one of the main things. And then the other thing that we had was it was made overseas, and when I would send them out, we were getting so many returns. Oh, doesn't fit, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. And, and I wasn't very smart to probably try and work out what is the issue. I just thought it was because we were all different sizes as humans. I didn't actually look at the product to think the product could be the problem.
Fortunately, what you're highlighting are physical problems with the product, not performance problems. You kind of maintain the faith that this is a product that will help women.
Yes, yeah.
It's just poorly made, so you needed to sort that out. How did you sort that out?
Well, after 3 years and investing a lot of money into it.
How much are we talking?
About 300,000.
Oh, that was hard to say.
It was very hard to say because that was our family savings, and I was the only income earner then. So
that fascinates me. That's why I love small business owners. You guys and girls are just so super brave. So
yeah.
300 grand, was that a slow pouring out of money? At which point did you have a line in the sand where you've gone, okay, when we get to 300, if I don't see this thing turning around, then we've got to cut our losses? Or how do you manage that kind of money loss?
Well, it came to an end when the company I was dealing with, I got an order in for about $50,000, and I was looking through the products and I was trying to work out why some women who were, say, a size 12 fit the band, and some women who were same size didn't fit the band. So then I took out sort of the mediums out, which would be about a size 12, and I laid them down, and I realized that there was about 5 different sizes, but they were all classed as a medium.
The one size.
And I realized it was the manufacturing. There was no quality control. And that was where the problem was lying with the returns.
Had you put total faith in the person who had created the belly band overseas to the point that you didn't go and visit the manufacturing, you didn't test it yourself locally? You've just gone, well, they've done all that over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were... they were a company in one country and they got them manufactured in China. So they didn't probably have a great... And this company was very, very passionate about the need for this product too. So I was trying to do all I can to sort of help them expand and but in the end, and I'd said to them, look, this amount, you need to return this. You need to give me my money back, or you need to replace them because I can't sell them.
Did they?
No. They said, well, why don't you just sell them for half price? And I was like, I can't do that.
Margin. It's still a broken product.
Yes, still a broken product. So, and then they'd said, oh, look, we probably won't sort of distribute anymore. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Are you still working full-time at this point? And is this a side hustle, or have you left your job?
I've left my job. Yeah, so I'm working full-time on this.
How's your mindset at that point?
At this stage, I felt a little bit broken because I'd realised that I'd invested so much time, so much energy, our savings of our family, so I felt very guilty. And yeah, it was it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow.
Were you talking to anyone? Was there a mentor? Did you have a coach? Did you have someone that you could share honestly how you were feeling?
The year before this, or during this year, I'd actually signed up with, you might know it, the KPI program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to be one of their coaches.
Yeah, so I went through that program, and it was at the end of that when the things happened where they said they won't be a distributor anymore.
Oh, so you were surrounded by good people at least to
I
give you
was
advice.
surrounded by, hey,
Yeah.
you can do this, you can do that. So I just thought, okay, I'm just going to have to cut my losses here. I'll go back to what I do, and that's going to be it. So that would have been in the November of 2014. And then I was at home, and I remember a gentleman came to my home, and he's like, are you the lady that's got, the stuff to help my wife? She's just gone in for a hysterectomy, and, she thought it was just going to be a small operation, and they've basically cut her abdomen open, and she's beside herself, and I don't know what to do. And I was like, no, I don't have them anymore. I don't do this. And he was just a bit distraught, and I said, but hold on, let me make you something up that I think might help. So I sewed him up a garment of just some elastic and stuff that I had, and I gave it to him. And then she wrote to me this letter, and I remember being really quite touched by it. And I was, the difficulties that people feel after and the vulnerableness they feel after surgery that they probably didn't expect to. And I was like, oh, that's really, really nice and touching. And then I had another lady who lived in the same town come to me, and the same thing again. And I was just thinking, there's more to this than, there's more that needs to be done. And I seem to know that there's more to be done, and I'm supposed to be the one to take it further. So at this stage, I had no money. So I started off with a very healthy bank balance when I started in my business at the beginning.
Did you have debt, or were you just spending money?
I was spending money.
Yeah.
But so when I thought about it, and I thought, okay, so what do I do if I'm going to do this? What do I do? And first of all, it's like I have to design a product that will meet all of the problems that I knew from selling the other ones, everything that I've heard all the customers say, what's the problems they have with it, how do they need it to fit, what do they need it to solve, and if I'm going to do that, then I need to do it properly. And if I'm going to do it, I have to have control of the manufacturing of it too. And they were the two things that I needed to research and I needed to do. When I was doing the KPI course, they got to the very end where it was like a pitch fest. So all the businesses come together and they do the pitch fest. And I became one of the 3 that did the pitch fest. And when I got up, the judges said, we just don't know what your name of your business means. And I remember going, oh, because it was so easy in my head.
Belly Bands.
It wasn't called Belly Bands then, no.
Here we go. What was it called?
So I can't tell you because of the other company, but...
what do you mean by that?
Well, the distributors that I had, it was their
that
company.
was their name. Well, it was a bad name.
When you know what it is, you know that it's okay, but it's not easy to probably understand if you don't know what the product is straight away. So I'm at home, and my son, who was probably about 12 at the time, and he's like... I'm just chatting away to myself, and he's like, oh, so what is it? And I said, well, it's just a band that goes around your tummy, around your belly. And he's like, well, so like a belly band. And I was like, there you go, that's
there
it.
There you go.
So I just thought, because of what I learned. He
just won himself a year's supply of M&Ms.
Yeah, it's because what I learned from doing the business course was keeping it simple.
Yes.
Keeping things simple. And I thought, well, that can't go any wrong. You understand what it is going to be, something that goes around your belly.
It's very brandable. It has a smile in it, despite the fact that you were operating in a clinical a serious environment. I think it's a fantastic name, and clearly it's worked for you. So there's your turning point. You do a business course. Good on you for doing a business course, whether it be KPI or business blueprint or something from overseas, whatever it is. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, I know KPI course, and it's very onerous. There's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, yes,
and
definitely.
And not cheap. And you even doing that at that time, I reckon that's really impressive. So you do that, you find out the name's no good. You then start making a couple from home that seem to work well because you've got complete 100% quality control. Okay, there's 2 steps there. How do you scale? Because you can't be sitting at your sewing machine at home doing individual orders, although that's how Brian Singer started Rip Curl, by making individual wetsuits. And then how do you, in your mind, go, I've already done 300 grand, it's our family savings, and now I'm being pushed to go slow and do it another way?
Once I worked out the type of material that I would need to use and the design that could be multifunctional and, size and to fit most people one size, so we could, all of the issues I'd worked out, then I had to work out, well, where am I going to get the money from to do this? Because I had no money. Like, that was it. It was all gone. And, as I said, there was a lot of guilt attached to that. So I took out a $5,000 loan.
Oh, you are amazing.
Which was of extremely high interest. So, yeah, it was something I'd never done before. And I thought, I can't do any more because I can't get any more money anyway. So from basically starting a business with $500,000 and pretty much wasting it all, to then starting a business from $5,000 and making it a success. Because when you don't have anything to spend, you make really good choices.
It's really interesting. Yeah. It's funny. I'm about to my next interview will be with a fellow who went bankrupt, and he went and got a full-time job as a real estate agent, but had then a side hustle, which he had $200 that he could scrape together every week to bring this idea to life. And I haven't done the interview yet, so I don't know how he did it, but he did make the point in my pre-interview, as you are now, which is scarcity encourages really smart, efficient thinking.
And that's what I did. And I built the Belly Bands brand as it is now from $5,000.
What is it about that? Like, yeah, your decision-making must have just been so sharp, and there was no time for you just couldn't afford to waste anything.
When you have money, you can go, oh yeah, we'll give that a try. Oh yeah, we'll give that a try. And you don't look at it in the big sense. Will it actually work? Will I get a return on my money? You're just so eager to get this business off the ground and being awareness that you're not being responsible, you're not or taking account of the decisions, accountability for the decisions that you make, and especially financial. When you have no money and you go, well, I will use this small amount to do that, and I will make it work, and I will be accountable for it, because if it doesn't work, you might not be able to take another step forward.
With all respect, how was $5,000 going to dig you out of this hole and send you on your way to what is now a business turning over $2 million a year?
Well, what I'd done was I had ordered a very small amount of the fabric that I needed. As a test, I built a website. I had used all of the knowledge that I had from all the mistakes I'd made, probably. I had used the connections that I had made in that time. And so I built the website myself. I reached out to everybody that I knew. I gave the samples that I made to other people so that they would give me feedback and reviews. So that $5,000 was used to get feedback, but that feedback I can use as testimonials to our product. And the first was the 5th of October 2015, I believe, was the first one we sold.
That's an important date, clearly,
For you to
remember that. Was that an online sale or was that
it was an online sale.
So did you get the little notification?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my goodness. And
isn't that a wonderful sound?
Yeah, it was so good. But then she complained. And I was like, Carol, everything I've done. However, what it done was it just highlighted something that I had to improve. So, and I improved that, and that actually was very critical for us going forward in the design. And so I'm really thankful that she actually did, because I learned from it and I improved our design once again. So that was the first sale, and I worked from home. We sold them there. My son, he would, help packing them in little bags and everything. And we started off where we sold one a week, and then it went to 2 a day, and then it went to, we had this little Australia Post tub, and I remember the first day it was full and we were like celebrating and stuff. But it was what built Belly Bands was the customers. The customers, because the product helped them, they wanted to let you know, and they wanted to share with other people how it worked. So I didn't have to force them to give me reviews. They literally wanted to do it.
In the form of emails or Google reviews, or how were they doing that?
In the form of emails to start with, and then I ended up putting our review software on our website. That.
Yeah.
So I think we have about, over 7,000 reviews, with about probably 6,500 of them 5-star reviews.
You have got 6,863 5-star reviews, Carol. I mean, that is amazing. So customers, they are your best friends. You were very lucky in the sense you operate in a very emotional space, despite it being clinical. It's very emotional. And I think when people, we all get a result from eating a chocolate bar, like a rush of sugar, but we're not about to write an email to the manufacturer going, thanks for that rush of sugar, because it doesn't last very long. But you have solved a real problem. So people are actively and very happy to feed back to you.
Yeah, I guess the philosophy behind Belly Bands with all of the staff is, it's people first. So we put them first before we basically take a profit from them. So we manufacture them in here so we can custom make to their needs if they need. We will take time on the phone if it takes 40 minutes for a customer service and we don't sell them anything at the end, that's fine. It's about their needs, and because without them, we don't have a business. And so we put them first, their needs. Do we have something to help solve their problem? If so, how can we solve it in the best way and the easiest way for them? And to always remember that they're in a vulnerable place. They're in pain, they're literally in pain, or they've just had surgery and they're feeling vulnerable, and it's our job to ensure that we're just not an online store. We're actually someone they can ring up and go, this is my issue, how can you help?
I'm just looking at your website now. I mean, you've got a phone number there, you've got an email form, you've got an FAQ guide, you've got online live chat with us. I love how contactable you are.
Yeah.
Because so many businesses aren't.
Yeah.
And it makes even restaurants like...
It drives you crazy.
Top right-hand corner of any restaurant website, have your address and phone number.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Maybe a button to your menu.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
And I think that just really stands us out, because obviously when we started, there wasn't many people in this space. There wasn't, now we have companies from overseas just trying to copy us, pretend that they are us.
I noticed. I went to put in Belly Bands and in Google, and another one came up, and I thought, It was Belly Bands. I won't say because I don't want to give them any exposure. But yeah, I saw that. What's your mindset around competition? Do you just go head down, continue to tell your own story, or do you get all litigious with cease and desist letters?
Well, it was quite funny because, now Belly Bands is now used by all of our competitors. They just use our, that term.
It's becoming a generic.
Yeah.
Well, that's good and bad.
I do. And I remember thinking, well, look, really, all they're doing is, at first you get all protective over it and you're like, oh my goodness, how dare they? But at the end of the day, if people are finding support to help them, that's really what it's about.
I love your attitude. And by the way, Carol, I love your demeanour. It's a very relaxed business owner. It's probably got a lot going on, but you're wonderfully relaxed. Now, do you think, you're doing $2 million a year turnover, not to be sneezed at, 8 staff, stockists all over Australia, 1,000 square metre factory on the Sunshine Coast. Things are pretty good. I don't know what the margins are like on that and whether you're making a decent living. However, do you think the attitude of people first, keeping it simple, almost a slow approach to business relative to what many of our listeners are probably doing, which is a manic approach? You build a business that you love, but do you think it's held you back? Do you think if you went a bit harder in your approach, that you might be a $5 or $10 million a year company? And does that matter to you?
Yes, I would have been. Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Yeah. I'm just someone who, I guess you have to have a mindset about money to want to get to there. Sometimes it's how you do the race and how quickly you want to get there. My business is honestly built on, when you have talked to, we've probably sold over 70,000 products. We've probably given away probably another 5,000, So when you talk to so many people and they all have the same issue, you can't help but be invested in them and not invested in the money. Now, I have bills, so I have to be, obviously, reality is we still need to make sense. We're not a charity. I have staff to pay. But at the same time, I do believe if we had gone too fast, too soon, we probably would have crumbled. So doing it as we have, gradually adding new products in. We now do things for, ostomy. We make catheter belts. We make stuff. So through the slow process and listening to the customers, we have added to our range, which then brings us back to our whole Heal Better range of post-surgery as well, which is growing out of that.
So let's talk about that because, I do want to understand how you scaled out of your living room with your son packing the bags. Maybe let's touch on that because I am also interested in how you have expanded the brand beyond Belly Bands, and now you've got 20 SKUs, which is it. But let's first of all just tell me about the scaling. How did you get out of your living room? Did you just outgrow it and there was enough, the cash flow was good enough that allowed you to go and find a little shop or an office somewhere with some distribution facility?
Yeah, so we stayed at home for 2 years, I believe, doing that. Then I had an outsourcer who would make the bands locally. So, so she started off with about probably 5 a day, and that ended up like 300 a week. And then so she would do that for us. And then I had a friend who had an area to sublet in his place. So we went there, and it was the worst thing ever. It actually had plants growing up the back of the wall, so we had to go in there and scrub it all down. But I got it for $100 a week. I
was going to say, but it was free. Beggars can't be choosers, but it got you moving.
Yeah. So we moved into there. I then purchased machines so that we can manufacture, and that's when we started manufacturing more bands each day. So our products are still made. We still have to cut them by hand because of the design. So the whole process, there's no mass production. So one person can still only make so many bands a day so one person does it from
Even now?
start to finish, even now. And that's because we have to do that to ensure the product is right and that's what stands us out.
Do you celebrate that on your website? The idea that it is bespoke, the word, it's certainly tailored, and it is handmade.
Yeah.
Is that something that you really celebrate? Because I bet your competitors don't. There'd be a big belly band factory somewhere doing all the other stuff.
But it's what the individual needs. So we need to create something that can, contour to an individual's body. So we had to design it, and this is the only way we can do it to make it fit the individual and give them the best experience. And that's what's important. So I could pretty much make our garments elsewhere for a fraction of the cost. But we decide not to do it because ultimately we want to give the best solution to the problem of the customer. We went into this building and we started growing, and the staff started growing, and then we ended up sort of moving him out and took over his space as well. He's a good friend, so it's all good. Yeah. And I just remember one day waking up and thinking, the staff deserve a better premises. Belly Bands deserves to grow, and I think I'm going to build a factory, a purpose-built factory.
How many years after is this that you're staring down the barrel of having lost hundreds of thousands of dollars? Are we 2 years, 3 years in?
3 years.
Isn't life wonderful?
Yeah. So, yeah. But it's been a lot of hard work.
No doubt.
I think at the end of the day, you have to have a vision. And a vision was I wanted to support the individuals on their recovery journey. And I wanted to give the people who worked alongside me even at least air conditioning. That would be good.
Reasonable, given you're on the sunny coast.
Yeah. And what I'd realized that through all of the hard work and all of the years, I hadn't actually made a living. So I was paying my bills and stuff, but I didn't. Everybody else was getting paid. And I decided that if the business folded again, I would have nothing. So to build the factory was my, I guess, getting something out of the business as an asset, building an asset. And I think you get to a stage in business where you have to start looking at what assets are in this business for me if I decide to walk away or it goes down. I think you have to start sort of thinking that. It's hard to think that at the beginning.
You have something very saleable now. Have you had knocks on the door?
We have had a lot of people interested in partnering with us, but because I've been able to do it without incurring any debt, I don't actually...
You don't need it.
I don't need it, yeah.
Tell me about moving across from just belly bands into 20 other products. So you have products now that address everything maternity, period and here am I trying to pronounce it. Yeah, thank you. I can't even say. Yeah. Hysterectomy, hernias, baby hernia belts, post-op kits, baby shower gifts. You really have expanded the brand. I never know which foot to put my camp in here. I didn't say that. I never know which camp to put my foot in. Staying focused on belly bands is really interesting because there's a niche and you probably haven't exhausted the market here or internationally. Adding SKUs spreads the risk, makes you appeal to a wider audience. So I get that. There's greater opportunity. But why did you do it?
Obviously we do maternity, which is one area. The C-section recovery for mums was a bit of a passion for mine because there's a lot to go into after surgery. And what I worked out after listening to a lot of customers over the years was the transition from hospital to home. And how I seen it was, if you have something wrong with you, you go to the doctor and the doctor will say, here you go, you got to go to the specialist. The specialist say you need this surgery, he will take care of you or she will take care of you. Then the nurses will take care of you in the hospital. Then you go home and you are basically left with, well, what do I do now?
Okay, so you're sort of you're being that brand that bridges the gap between, hospital and getting home and needing additional resource.
Yeah. And so that was when I would hear from the customers at that point when they were home. What do I do? I'm looking for something. I've come across your website. And so they were only looking for basically the belly band at that stage. And so I thought, I'll write a blog post. I'll write a blog post about all of the things that they can do, why they should wear a belly band, why they need to keep the incision safe, how they should get in and out of bed, why they should wear some compression stockings, what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, why they should massage the scar afterwards.
I hope you've turned this into an online course, Carol Brunswick, of belly bands.
Wow. I decided that...
I was serious, and that is an entire new revenue stream that you'll do once and you'll sell over and over and over. Please do it.
Well, what we did from there was I had another gentleman that came to my home in probably 2 years ago now, and he had a hernia from surgery, and this hernia was basically like a soccer ball hanging off of him, just down from his groin area there. And I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, it developed after surgery. And so he couldn't walk, and he wanted to go with his wife overseas, so I fitted him up with a band, and he's like, I just wish I'd knew what to do afterwards, so I'm not. And I thought, this is what we hear over and over and over again. So I thought, I'll make the blog post. And I thought, that's not enough. So I decided that all the products I knew to use after surgery, including the belly band, I'm going to manufacture. So I manufactured them, and I put them in the kit called the Heal Better Recovery Kit. And I thought, well, now they've got the products, how do they know how to use them? So then I created an app. I built an app, and it's called the Heal Better app. So it's for post-surgery. So now we've got the products and we've got the app. And so now people can take care of their own recovery journey. Because what happens is, there's quite a lot of people that end up back in hospital after surgery, and we wanted to prevent that.
You could team up with, this is back to KPI, and one of the P's in the KPI program is partnerships. And it would appear, and again, you're building an empire beautifully slowly. So, all these ideas are great, but if you don't want to they're all going to accelerate your growth. But partnering up, I don't know whether it be with a physio or I don't know who the specialists are, but to create this content. And look, whether it be part of your app that's free or whether it be an online course, but yeah, there's a real educational piece that you could be doing and become very well known for.
Yeah. Well, we had a company do a research survey for us at the end of last year. And they went out to the consumers, and they also went out to about 300 surgeons. They gathered all the information that was, relevant to both of them. And it was really interesting that 99% of the surgeons had said, if we had an app like this to give to our patients, we would definitely prevent, people returning with complications after surgery. And the people returning with complications, it's, it costs, healthcare system. It's the surgeon's time. The patient has got to take more time off of work, never mind the emotional side to it. So it's just, for me, because I was constantly being told of the issues, whereas the surgeon's not, because they've done their part and they're now on to the next patient. But I was that middle person who kept hearing, this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue here. And I've tried to do something about it. And I'm hoping that is the plan, that this Heal Better app will be given to every patient that goes into their surgeon or specialist.
Is the app free to access?
100% free. Yeah.
I thought you weren't a charity.
It's, we all have to give back.
Yes, no, I absolutely understand that. Tell me, I am interested in the building of an app by a small business owner. I always think they're they appear to be super expensive. I know you can white label them, but even maintaining them, because iOS and Android update all the time, so therefore you're having to update all the time. Has it been a bit of a cross to bear, or you've actually found it well and truly worthwhile having it?
Yeah, I think it's been worthwhile having it. And I was very lucky that, I have a very good friend, Dr. Meyer, who's a surgeon. He was wonderful in helping me put that together. We had physios doing videos on teaching people how to get in and out of bed. We had an amazing designer who tried to make it so that when people came on, they didn't feel, oh my goodness, I'm going to have all these issues, but made it so, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I didn't know this. Oh, this is great. So, and that was very important with the app, not to make it people feel frightened to use it, that, oh, I'm going to have, these issues after surgery, but, oh, look what I can do for myself to help myself recover.
Do you have a sense of what that app's cost you? I'm just interested because I don't speak to many business owners with an app.
Probably about, I would say, about $45,000, $50,000.
Sorry for laughing. It's a laugh out of love and respect and admiration, but that's amazing. We all have to give back, absolutely. I mean, I do this podcast as a sort of way of giving back, but I make money from it. But I find that amazing, Carol. 45 to 50 grand of your own money, and you're not charging a cent for it. It's probably, I have no doubt, added value to the product purchase, of course, and probably got you additional purchases because it's developed a trust and familiarity amongst those that have bought your products or seen the app. But boy, oh boy, that is impressive. What a great business you are running. Do you love it?
Yeah, I do. I love it. I love how everybody who comes to work with us, my daughter now, she now basically runs she's like the general manager now. And when she first came to work, she'd be like, Mum, will you stop giving everything away? You're trying to run a business.
I sort of felt like saying that. I don't know you well enough, so I'll leave that to your daughter, but feel free to have her call me and I'll encourage her.
But now, like the rest of the staff, they get invested in the customer, and they get invested in helping them. And then I'll hear them say, okay, well, we'll just pop one of these in for you anyway, just in case you need it. And it's, what goes around comes around.
Yeah, 100%. Carol, to finish up, let's just reflect back on where we started. 300, was it 300 or 500 grand in the pit?
It was probably, I had about 500 to start with, but at least 300 of that went on the business, yeah.
Are you glad it went that way?
Yes, now I am. Yeah.
Isn't that
amazing?
I
think, and to be honestly truthful, at the stage where I was at, where I was grieving, also dealing with that, it actually gave me purpose to keep going. So in hindsight, having that money and making those decisions and not being as wise as I should have been with it, it still gave me a purpose to keep going, and it allowed me to really get to know the issues that our customers have. But yeah, I definitely could have been a lot wiser with it.
Oh well, you are literally here to tell the story, and to be honest, I didn't know where this interview was going to go when I was thinking about it this morning on my morning swim, and I was like, where are we going to take this? And honestly, I just think it's one of the most uplifting and inspiring interviews I've done for a very long time. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. No, it really is. I think it's beautiful. I mean, business is hard, business is serious, business is tough, but it should be fun and it should fill our souls with joy and feel as though we're on purpose. And I know there'd be many listening that maybe aren't, and hopefully they've taken something from this. Anyone who needs a belly band, please go to bellybands.com.au, and even if you Google it, click on bellybands.com.au, not the competitor. And if you want a really good place to go and work, ring Carol, because it sounds like a fantastic workplace. Carol Brunswick, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you. Thanks for listening and letting me have the opportunity to share it.
Well, there you go, team. Belly Bands founder, creator and manufacturer, Carol Brunswick. What a wonderful business owner, making the world a better place with a great product, totally invested in her customers, keeping things super simple and putting people first before profit every single time. Let me know what grabbed your attention in that chat with Carol. Or maybe you just want to share what's on your marketing mind by calling the Small Business Big Marketing hotline on 0480 015 150, just like listener and interstate removalist Scott Chapman did on his 20-hour drive.
Hey, Timbo. My name's Scott Chapman. I have a couple of businesses. I have Zenith Removals, a removal company in Sydney, and I have Zenith Motorcycle Tours doing tours through Europe and the Himalayas, which obviously isn't doing a lot at the moment with COVID. But the removals is busy, and, I've had the idea of growing it for a while, and I just wanted to say that I've just listened to my first episode of your podcast, which was the one with Bob Wheeler. So at the moment, I don't really do any advertising or marketing. A lot of my work is word of mouth. Clients I've moved before and their friends and a few businesses that I do removal work for. But I wanted to grow the business. Actually, I had your podcast. I was just doing a job now to Townsville. So I've had like a 20-hour drive and I'm just about at my destination in the next hour and a half. And I was listening through to my usual podcasts, and then at my last stop, I was having a coffee and flicking through what other podcasts I could listen to, and I saw yours, which I'd downloaded before, and I thought, I'll have a listen to that. And so my goal is to hopefully be the next Bob Wheeler for you. Maybe you might be able to have me on in a couple of years' time, and I can tell you how the business has turned around. So thanks again for the podcast. It sounds great, and I'm looking forward to seeing and listening a lot more episodes. Okay, thanks, mate. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Hey, Scott. Thanks, buddy. What a lovely message. And gee, that Bob Wheeler episode touched a lot of you in a very, very positive way. Episode 583, if you haven't listened to it. Bob, long-time listener and supporter of this podcast, a very active member of the Facebook tribe that we have. And he shared a lot of good stuff. I'd be interested to know how many other episodes, Scott, you crammed into your 20-hour drive. You are clearly a cretin for punishment. And I love the fact that you are a removalist, but also have a European motorcycle tour side hustle on the side. That's impressive, buddy. A true entrepreneur. Thanks again, Scott. And as Jim Morrison would say, let me clear my vocal cords. Keep your eyes on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Oh, it's terrible. Everyone else, be like Scott, not me. And call me on 0480 015 150. Hey, next week, you and I will discover a tried and tested formula for getting more traffic to your website without spending $1 on ads. I chat to this bloke. It's a great story. And I won't go into any detail here except to say that he has a business selling e-bikes to hunters. Yeah, how's that for a niche? We have a good niche discussion. He got banned by Facebook ads and Google AdWords. That's a story in itself. So then he goes off and creates an entire way of driving traffic to his website without paying for ads. And he's turned that into a course, and it's a super duper story. If you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you did, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Please do that. That really, really, really helps me in terms of rankings. And leave a review on your favourite podcast app. I read them all and I love them. Where you'll find 594 more chats with successful business founders. If you're ready to create some helpful marketing, and I hope you are, because that's my thing, then grab a copy of my marketing text, The Boomerang Effect, over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. This show was edited by the amazing Alex Amster. Welcome aboard, Alex. So great to have you here, brother. The music bed written, sung, and produced by rockstar Lockie Dolly, and made possible by the good folk at Dell and Studio One Design. Please check them both out. Thank you so much for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.